this advantage comes at a cost, okay? In particular, you have that the internal network raises the issue of control because, of course, a multinational company, it has a larger internal network, which implies also that it has a much larger managerial cost associated with the management of a larger, broader, and a more heterogeneous internal network. And also, it raises an issue related to the embeddedness of your external networks, meaning that if you want to use your external network to access external knowledge, you need to be able to embed your external network in the context in which you operate, okay, in the local economy in which you are active. And this again is not simple. It depends on how firm is our firm, or how a manager or the group of managers of a firm are able to achieve this result, okay, to actually embed their production units within the local environment in which they are active. These different costs, the management costs and the cost of embeddedness, are the two costs that in a certain sense compensate the advantages that I was saying before and make a difference in the reason why some firm decides to do that and some firm decide not to do that, because the size of this cost depend on some on the features and on the skills of managers. So in a certain sense depends on the resources and capabilities that are available in a given firm, and as we know, these resources and capabilities are different across firms. So this also explains why some firms at a certain point find the cost why certain firms decide at a certain point that the advantages of becoming a multinational company more than compensate the costs, and therefore they undertake foreign direct investments, whereas other companies that operate in the same sector decide instead that the costs are too large and therefore do not undertake foreign direct investments. Okay, this is something that again can explain the heterogeneity of within sector characteristics. Now, another important component of this theory, that in addition to what I was saying before, is that it is the one that relates to the duality of innovation and knowledge spillover. Now, what are knowledge spillovers? Now, knowledge spillovers are the idea that, in a sense, knowledge and skills are things that are very difficult to constrain, and they can spill over from one firm to another, or from one person to another. So, in a certain sense, even what we are doing today, a class in which I try to explain you some things, is some way a practice through which I pass some of my knowledge to you. At least I try to do this. Okay, so this is a way in which knowledge can spill over from one person to another. Well, when you consider firm, you can have similar condition. For instance, if you consider the relationship that exists between one firm and its supplier. Why? Well, because, for instance, one firm, when needs to design a new product, needs some particular inputs and needs this input to be done in a specific way. So in order for the input to be done in this way, this firm can pass some of its knowledge about the product to the supplier to be sure that supplier will design the product in this specific way. So this is another way in which knowledge can spill over from one production unit to the other, which is analog, if you want. It's not too different from the way in which knowledge can spill over from one person to another via a class, like what we are doing today. Okay, so this is the idea of knowledge spillover. Now, a Cantwell idea is that this knowledge spillover can be both ways. Okay, so on one hand, innovation and knowledge spill over from localties to the multinational company, because, for instance, the multinational company can learn new things from the knowledge that is available in a local environment. For instance, acquiring information and knowledge from the supplier. But at the same time, innovation and knowledge spill over from the multinational company to the localties. For instance, thanks to the fact that the multinational company passes some of its knowledge to suppliers. Okay, so in this way, there is some sort of dynamic interaction between the ownership advantage of the multinational company and the location advantage. Because if some information moves from the multinational company to the local environment, of course, the local environment, as a result, will have more knowledge, you will observe more skilled workers, for instance, or more skilled suppliers in that particular environment, which will make that environment particularly attractive for new multinational company to go there, because new multinational company will want to try to get access to that knowledge. At the same time, the fact that you can access this knowledge from the perspective of the company increases your ownership advantage, because you will be able to create new products and to create new businesses. Okay, so this interaction between ownership and location advantage leads to which kind of results? Well, the results that basically, on one hand, you will have that successful innovator will tend to invest in innovation. So they tend to invest in innovation activities in several countries to exploit knowledge spillovers from localities to the multinational company. As they do so, they will generate knowledge spillovers that goes from the multinational company to the localities, which will imply that these localities will become even more attractive from new multinational companies. Okay, so just to again frame the idea in a more simplistic way, you have knowledge spillover that operates via these two networks, internal and external, that can run in two ways. On one hand, you can have knowledge spillovers from the company to the local environment, to the localities in which the company operates. At the same time, you can have, because the company passes knowledge to the suppliers that are operating in, I don't know, China. At the same time, knowledge goes from the local environment, for instance, from the supplier to the multinational company, because thanks to the relationship with the supplier, the multinational company can access new knowledge concerning the consumers, the local environment, and things like that. Okay, so these two ways, the fact that spillover run in these two ways, it implies what? That multinational company will invest in different localities, and thanks to this, knowledge will spill over from the multinational company to the localities. This will imply that the localities will become more innovative on average. So there will be more knowledge available in the local environment, which will imply that new companies will want to go there to access that knowledge via foreign direct investment. So new multinational company will go there. But if more multinational company will go there, this will imply that more knowledge will spill over from multinational company to the local environment, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this creates a cumulative process that leads to agglomeration economies, meaning that firm will locate in the same center in order to benefit from each other's innovation and the locality as a whole. Which implies basically what I was saying, that more firm will go to specific centers, this center becomes more attractive and more firm will want to go there. Okay, so, and we have several different examples of this agglomeration economy. One well-known example is the Silicon Valley. Okay, Silicon Valley is a specific region in San Francisco Bay Area in which there is a very strong agglomeration economies in the sectors of ICT. And how these happen, so why you started to have an agglomeration economy based in ICT in the Silicon Valley? Well, because at a certain point in time, there were some multinational companies decided to move their production activity there for some reason. This created a spillover of knowledge from the company to the local environment, so you will start to have lots of very skilled, for instance, software programmers that were living in the San Francisco Bay Area. This implied that this area became more attractive for new multinational companies to locate, operating in the ICT sector, to locate their production activity there, and this gives start to a sort of like cumulative process that led to the agglomeration economy that we are observing today. This happens in advanced countries, but so another example that is very common but less known is the Seattle Bay Area. Even in this case, there is a very strong agglomeration economy in the sectors of ICT. Does any of you know why in Seattle there is this? So, do you know the company that started this? So they give the basic start to this agglomeration economy in Seattle. So in San Francisco is well known, but do you know anything about Seattle? Who was the company that sort of like give that was active in Seattle, that can be considered as the company that originated this kind of agglomeration economy in the ICT sector in Seattle? Does any of you know? Probably you are all asleep now because it's already more than 1 hour that I talk. Sorry, I actually didn't interact much to you during this first part, but as I was saying, I really like this approach. So this leads me some time to forget that I'm talking to you. So anyway, do you know who is a very important ICT company that is that originate from Seattle? None of you? No idea. Thanks, Nicola, for the feedback. Okay, well, it is Microsoft. Okay, so Microsoft originally is from Seattle. Okay, so Bill Gates started the company while and the first headquarter of the company. Actually, I think still the main headquarter of the company is in Seattle. Okay, and that's the reason why, actually, over time in that sector, in that region, you started to observe more and more companies active in this sector. And you can make, and actually, when we will study the effects of multinational company on innovation, we will see a very nice paper that actually provides some evidence about the role that a multinational company can have in attracting new and further investments in the same local area.